Hi. All right, so today I want to talk about turning off the chronic stress response, because we know that it is so bad for our health to be constantly, if you watched the last video, to be constantly wired, right? You're biologically wired. You're biologically wired to identify the source of the stress. So your mind will never shut off when you have symptoms and when you're chronically ill, because your symptoms are constantly triggering your innate biological response to find the source of that stress. So it's like you're programmed to do this. So you can become on really high alert, like the fight or flight when you're running from the bear, or you can freeze and sort of flop down, flop over, and play dead. So those are the two sort of responses. You're running, you're fighting, or you're flopping. I guess there's three, right? But they all come from the same mechanism, the same drive to self-protect. And it's biological, it's what the body does. You don't even have to think about it, it's subconscious. So how do we turn such a core biological response that our body has had for millions of years through evolution, how do we turn that off? So it's very hard. That's why you need a lot of tips. So I'm going to share with you a bunch of tips, and we'll keep going. We want to get about 20 in our pocket so that we can use these whenever we are feeling a lot of symptoms, scanning our body, self-protecting, anything like this. We know that our stress response is high and we want to turn it off. So the thing that you need to do to turn that response off is feel safe. So whether you're fleeing, you're fighting, or you're playing dead, as soon as the animal, if you think of an animal in that situation, as soon as they actually feel safe, the one who's playing dead will get up and just spring back to normal. If you've ever seen like a possum or a rabbit go like in that startle, like pretend they're dead, and then all of a sudden you'll see them flip back over and just act like nothing's wrong. So it's that safe, like you perceive safety and you're okay. Or if you're running from a bear, suddenly you realize the bear's not there and you think you're safe, and you will slow down, you'll look around. If you continue to think you're safe, the response will go away. Your heartbeat will come down, you'll stop running, you'll be able to get on with your day. So it's that safety response, and same with the fighting. As soon as you feel like you've fought off the invader, that they cannot hurt you anymore, that nothing can hurt you anymore, you've successfully fought off whatever it is that is trying to attack you, then your system will become normal. But when you're chronically ill and you're chronically feeling symptoms, then you're chronically activating this stress response because you cannot find the source of it and you can't seem to turn it off. And that's what keeps this going. So how do we try to help our body turn this off? Okay, so I've written down a few notes. I've just got my little book and gone through and written a few of my own notes down that I want to share, and techniques. So, okay, so what do I have here? I wrote, you are stressed and struggle because you truly see no answers. So that's important. And you think that your mind won't shut off because you truly can't find the answers, and you don't think there's an escape, you don't think there's a way out, and you don't think there's a way to get better, and you don't think that there is a way to heal yourself. You can't find it, you're stressed about it, you don't know how to do it. These are things that keep us stressed because we truly see no way to end this suffering, right? So that keeps us suffering. So, okay. So the first tip number one, so this, I don't know how many videos I'm going to share, but I'm going to go through a number of them. I may break them up into different videos. So tip number one is to think of a time in your past, before you were chronically ill, think of a different time in your past when you experienced something really difficult, right? Really difficult. When you were in a terrible situation, you experienced deep pain or suffering in some way, whether it was emotional or physical, and you couldn't see a way out, okay, back then, but eventually it passed. And so now you're in a different situation. When you look back at that situation, you can see that it passed, right? It passed back then. And you have this perspective now. So if you could imagine yourself going back to that, your previously younger self, who went through this situation and talk to them and say, you know what, I've seen the future and it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. This is gonna pass. This is all gonna be behind you. It's gonna be over. If you could have that conversation with yourself, however it would look, you could let yourself feel, you could just feel that. You could feel that younger self soaking it up, like everything's gonna be okay. I don't have to feel this stress or this worry or continually think about how to solve this problem, because I already know with confidence, because my future self has told me, right? You're gonna just feel a lot better. So then you take that image and you go and you pretend now that you are your future self. So now as your future self, you don't know, you don't have that same level of confidence that you do in the present looking back, but you imagine you do. So you're your future self now looking back, and you tell your present self, I'm from the future, I'm your future self, we're well, we made it through the other side, and you don't have to worry, you don't have to stress, you're gonna be okay, I promise you will get through this. And you say the exact same script that you would to the time that you already know for sure that you did get through. So you say the exact same words to yourself now, and then you allow yourself to believe it and feel and trust in yourself and hear that confidence. So that's technique number one. I know it sounds sort of like woo-woo, but try it. It's a really effective technique. It can calm you down. Okay, so that's a technique. Technique number one, it's called your future self, right? So you want your future self to tell you that everything's going to be okay. The same way that you will tell yourself now that your old self will be okay, and you already know that's true. Okay, so that's your first technique. The next technique is looking at single points. So if you just sit nice and still and you close your mind, and this is basically just trying to give your body a break, give your physiological body the sense that everything's okay. That's what we're trying to do with this technique. So you're just gonna look off into space, just really gently, and look at a tree, look at a twig, look at something in nature, and just focus on it. And just try to rest and focus on it. And then look over to the other way and find a point in nature. And do the same thing, just rest. And then look back at the first point. And then look back at the second point. And we want to look at the points for about 30 seconds each and just relax at the point and know that there's a space in between that you're not looking at all, but just because you're not looking at it, it's safe. And this is just what you want to portray to your brain, like everything's okay. This is still and perfect and natural and nature, and I'm calm. And then you look at the other point, that one's still and wonderful and calm. And you know there's space all around you, and you feel all of it's calm. You don't have to identify with each thing. You just know that looking out between the 2 points, that everything's calm. And you try to calm your body by looking at the points for about 30 long seconds and breathing and going to each point. So that's just called the double points, right? The double points techniques. So try that when you're super stressed out. This will bring your physiological response down and just help the body remember and seeing a visual that like everything's okay in the world, so it must be okay inside. It must be okay to relax. And we always want to try to turn on that relaxation. So that's tip number 2. Okay, so tip number 3 is called the mother response. So this is the oldest innate response that we have and that we can remember. As a child, we cry when we are desperate for help or attention, or we feel unsafe, we cry. And our mothers pick us up and they rock us and bounce us in their arms like this, and they say, shh, there, I gotcha, you're okay, shh. Okay, so we want to give this response to ourselves. So when we're really shaken, when we're really in deep panic, when we're really can't calm down, when we're overwhelmed with stress, when our symptoms are raging out of control. One of the things I find really helpful is get an exercise ball, a great big exercise ball, and you want to sit on it. I know this because when I had babies and they would cry, the only thing that would ever calm them down, not rocking in a chair, not really rocking them, but I would sit on the exercise ball and I would just slowly bounce up and down with the baby in my arm like this, over and over and over and over like this. I mean, not jolting the baby, but like up and down like this on the exercise yoga ball. And I would say shh, or I'd just sing a gentle song like, Mama's got you, Mama's got you, Mama's got you, Mama's got you, over and over and over, repetitive, or that shh, or it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, right? And up and down. So I would suggest that you get yourself a yoga ball, you sit on the ball and you shh to yourself, or you sing that gentle song, or you say it's okay. You pretend you're soothing a baby, but you are the baby, and you do the motion. So the exercise ball bounce, that's called exercise ball bounce and shh, the bounce and shh. That's the mom response, right? So that is what we long for. It's one way that we've always calmed down as infants. That has soothed our stress response. The other way that you can do it is if you have a mom who's still alive and you're close with, you can ask her, and this might bring up a lot of emotion, but you can ask her to hold you and shh, pat your back, rock you, shh. If you're too old for that, or you're too embarrassed, or you don't have a close enough relationship, you can ask your spouse to mother you, even though, you know, if you're a man, and the woman will be really good at mothering you. If you're asking a man to mother you, that's okay. Just tell them what you need, like, shh, it's okay, I've got you, it's okay, and just let them rock you and soothe you. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like I can't possibly ask someone to do that, but you can. If you feel too weirded out by the parent or the spouse, you can hold an animal. If you have a pet, a little dog, a little hamster, anything, you can hold them close to your heart and you can do the response and just allow that heartbeat and allow that contact to soothe you. You can also do it with your own children. So at night you can rock your children, or anytime they get hurt, you can use that opportunity to soothe yourself. You can hold them and shh, Mama's here, I gotcha. I gotcha. You can do it to them. You can get the heart-on-heart contact, that same mothering contact, and you can do it to them. Or you, like I said, you can do it to yourself. You can just get the ball and you can do it and say the words to yourself. So though that's called the mother response, and that's tip number 3, I believe. All right, so maybe I'll do 2 more on this video, and then we'll do a few more on the next video. So I hope you try these. They're all a little bit different, but I've used them all and they are helpful in their own right. The 4th one is like shaking, the shaking response. So I've done a video on Trey. You can go look it up under my name and Trey, and you will see how to do Trey, which is trauma release therapy. You can also look online about the somatic experience, or TRE. Lots of people have information on these things, but basically in the wild, and you'll see that when an animal gets super stressed, they will run, and their adrenaline will be going, and they'll be shaking, or they're fighting, or whatever it is, and afterwards a lot of times they shake. Even some bears or animals will go unconscious and they'll have almost a seizure. It's like a shaking off. Birds will flap their wings and flap their feathers and shake, and this is to coming out of the stress response, right? So it's a way that they normalize all that stress and that you come out of it. So try those. Look at my video on TRE and try the shaking response. This is one way to calm down the nervous system and to come out of flight or fight, because it's what animals in the wild do. Okay, and you can make this sound like a vibrating sound. A loud humming. Animals at night, they hum, they vibrate, they make that sound. Ooh, oh. all these sounds. You will feel them vibrating inside you, and these will help. They're shaking your internal vocal cords, they're shaking your organs, they're shaking the insides of you, and then external shaking and flapping and moving of your nervous muscles. That's why a lot of people with MS or Parkinson's or tics or any sort of facial like cramps and tics, and this is your body trying to release the stuck stress response, and it cannot do it. So you need to help it by inducing the shaking, by inducing the humming, by inducing the internal shaking, humming, vibrations, and as much as you can. So that's tip number 4, and again, you can look up my other video on that. Okay, and so the last one for this video is tip number 5, and it is messages to self. So you want to send yourself messages of safety. So you do the dialogue. I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm safe. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. You're safe. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Right? As much as you can. And so you want to soothe yourself with that self-talk, soothing messages to self, the it's okay, you're okay, you are safe, everything's okay, you're safe. Those kinds of messages of safety, verbal, that you're hearing are really going to help you. And then you give yourself active control. So you want to give yourself, I'm choosing, you want to have choice. So I'm safe, it's okay, I'm choosing to do this technique. I'm choosing to be in this grocery store. I'm choosing to be out in these crowds. I'm choosing to go to sleep. I'm choosing to eat these foods. I'm choosing to meditate. So it's not something we're being forced to do. You want to take control, like I'm choosing to self-heal myself. I'm choosing this. It's okay if I have these symptoms. I'm choosing them. I'm choosing to allow my body to heal on its own. I'm choosing these symptoms. I'm choosing them to allow them to heal myself. I'm choosing this way of healing. I'm choosing this method of healing. I'm choosing these foods. I'm choosing to put these foods in my body because they're helpful. I'm getting nutrients from them. I'm choosing this restrictive diet to get rid of inflammation. So you want to convince yourself of as much choice as you can, because control is super important, and when we don't feel like we have control, we freak out and we get anxiety over the situation. But if we can remind ourselves that we are choosing all these things, we have choice, we have control in how we react, what types of things we do, the control over what we're trying to do, and we can allow ourselves some control, and to remind ourselves with self-soothing talk that we're safe and it's okay, and we're in control and it's safe and it's okay and it's going to be okay. These types of things will go a super long way to helping yourself. So that's the messages to self and the exercise control. I would call it both. It's maybe 2 techniques, but sometimes I do them together. So soothing messages to self, and the other one is exercising and reminding yourself that you're in control. Giving yourself as much control as you can under the crappy circumstances. What are you choosing? And if you're not choosing something and you're feeling forced, then make a choice and choose to do something different, or make a choice on what to eat or how to heal, or whether you're going to call a doctor, or if you're going to do it on your own, or if you're taking a supplement, or if you're not. You are controlling that and you're choosing it. So remind yourself that you have control. So I hope these help. These are 5. I'll come back and do another 5 soon.